Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Nancy Drew Season 1, The Pollen. I decided, I haven't made a Nancy Drew video in a couple of months now because, the show is in between seasons. I think they just finished wrapping the third season. And so I decided, since I really didn't like the second season all that much, and it kind of like really irritated me because everything that was so great in the first season just kind of went downhill in the second. I decided, to recently go back and start rewatching the first season in the pilot and remember why I love this show so much. You know, because basically what happened in the second season is that it got infected by the CW. It got CW pretty much. It's like a little STD or something like that that just infects shows and they can never be cured no more from it. And it's so sad because CW used to be so good back in the day. Oh, a little heads up update. The Hardy Boys, not the wrestling dudes, but the show that's on Hulu that's parallel to Nancy Drew back in the day from the novels and stuff like that. It got renewed for a second season, and I think it's supposed to come out either later this year or early next year. If you ever watched my reviews about the Hardy Boys, I didn't particularly like it that much. I like Nancy Drew season 1 a whole lot more. But after watching season 2 of Nancy Drew, it's kind of like, yeah, I kind of need to rewatch the Hardy Boys and see was it better. But I still don't really like that show all that much. But it was pretty intriguing. It just, there was just a lot of strange moments. Anyway, Nancy Drew. I love this pilot so much. Like, it's simple. It really shows like old school Nancy Drew novel type stuff where it's like detective work and her snooping around. We get some nice narration from Nancy, which is something that got dropped in the second season where she just doesn't narrate as much no more, or period. She really doesn't even narrate at all, to tell you the truth. And it's not just exposition narration, which it is in the first season, but we also get like how she feels about certain situation. Like she's reacting as something's going on, and I love that kind of narration. Like it's one thing to just be told a lot of crap, but it's nice to get somebody's like point of view, their expression, their reaction, and that's what was so great about the first season. But for some reason, they decided to drop all that crap. But yeah, and then also what was so great about the first season and this pilot is that it was subtle, ghostly, ghouly stuff. In the second season, it's just like ghosts and ghouls and monsters are just popping up everywhere, and everybody's accustomed to it. But when you see in this first season that people are very unaware of ghosts, ghouls, and goblins and all this other crap, and even Nancy doesn't even believe in ghosts at all until she starts seeing stuff in the first season. But then by the second season, like I said, everybody's just so accustomed to it and it's weird. Anyways, so the show starts off with a woman wearing like a prom dress, a pink one, and she has a crown. She just won the homecoming queen thingy. And she's on a ledge, on a mountain ledge. And this woman is unknown. We don't even get to see her face. But later on, we find out that it's Lucy Sable. And so Nancy is narrating. And at some point, Lucy decides just to jump off the cliff. Oh, her dress is bloody. Her dress was bloody before she jumped off the cliff. And so she jumps off the cliff and she dies, hits the pavement down below, and just boom, she's dead. You know what I'm saying? Then it cuts to a flashback of Nancy when she was a teenager and she was hanging out with her friends and she's with her ex-boyfriend. And I forgot she even had an ex-boyfriend back in high school. It would be nice to see him older now, since they're out of high school in the later season, but he hasn't showed up yet. So they're all playing around Lucy Sable's gravesite, reciting the nursery rhyme that goes along with her. It's interesting that a lot of nursery rhymes actually deal with a lot of gruesome stuff like you would not believe in real life. And so, she's narrating, we get flashbacks of that. And then, now one thing I want to mention, when she was at the gravesite, In the background, you see this shadowy figure, like a ghostly figure. And I think she sees it like very briefly. But like I said before, she does not believe in ghosts. Now there's another flashback, a very peculiar one, when Nancy is extremely young. She wakes up, get out of her bed, goes outside, and she sees her parents digging up something in the backyard. And they pull something up, and it's in a big old sheet. Now it appears to be like a dead body, but we later find out in this later on in this episode in the season, it's something completely different. And when they see Nancy, they tell her, "Oh, you're just imagining things, you're dreaming." And she literally believes that for the rest of her life until some stuff starts to happen when she gets older. We get a flashback of her even younger about how this one little girl went missing and stuff, and how her and her parents, they went looking for her. And that's when she started doing her detective work at like a very, very, very young age. It's kind of weird how they flash back from her being older to now her being younger, then to her being older again. Strange direction, but hey, whatever. And when she does her little detective work, she wears a little beanie and everything, her suede beanie. And so it's like, she found the missing girl, and she's now like a town hero, and she's a young detective, stuff like that. And then it cuts to her coming downstairs, and her parents are upset, and she finds out that her mom has, I think, colon cancer. And then when she's at the gravesite and she dies, and a year later, now she's out of high school, she's an adult, and she took a year off, like a gap year of college, and she's working at a restaurant, called The Claw. It's there we see Ned Nicholson, but they call him Nick on the show. And so him and her are banging and stuff. But they're not boyfriend and girlfriend. They're just friends with benefits, and they barely know anything about each other. But he really likes her, and she kind of really likes him. But for now, she doesn't want nothing serious whatsoever, and she tells him that she's just not ready. And but she really likes like kissing and making out with him and having a good time. Oh, that Nancy's just a player. When we see her at her job, we see the people she works with, and she's narrating still and giving her opinion on people. We see George. George is rude. Plain and simple. Now, George in this has been gender bent. In the novels, George was a dude, and now in this one, George is female. She's narrating now about Beth. And Beth, she says, is the rich girl who lives with her rich aunt, a city girl, and for some reason, I forget why, but Beth is talking with a American accent, but she's actually British. Then there's Ace. She talks to him about something. She told him about something he forgot because he's a burnout. If you ever watch any of my other videos, Ace is not my favorite person. He's the character who's literally there, but I don't do much of anything. And whenever they do give him something interesting, they take it away really fast. So, they're about to close up, right? And then this guy shows up named Ryan, and him and his buddies show up, and he wants like a little private table so they can conduct business. Ryan is the rich dude, the sleazy, mysterious, typical rich dude. Beth tells him, hey, we're about to close up, but George is like, oh, no, that's okay. We can stay open and stuff. So him and George talk a little bit, and he reveals that he has a wife. George is a little miffed by this, very shocked and surprised. And so his wife is outside, and Nancy gives his wife her order. Everything's all fine, everything's all normal, right? Then they go back inside, and now they do some more talking, and then Nancy goes back outside to look for Tiffany Hudson, which is Ryan Hudson's wife. And as she's walking around, she can't find her. And then she steps on glass. It's the plate of food. And so she walks around a little bit more. She sees fireworks in the sky. And then boom, there is Tiffany laying flat on the ground, dead. And I mean dead, dead. So she's screaming for help. Um, what's the name? What's the name? Ace, George, and Beth, they come running out. And then all of a sudden, Nick shows up out of the blue. And then next thing you know, they turn around and it's the police and ambulance. But yet none of them have called. Well, Ace has an alibi. He was with Ryan inside. Everybody else, however, was scattered throughout the restaurant, and Nick, of course, just showed up out of nowhere. So the cop takes him down to the station, and he is interrogating the crap out of them. And then we found out some nice little reveals about people. The cop dude, he hates Nancy to death. Reason for that is because when she was a kid, she was always snooping around and solving cases. And she said, oh, the only reason why you don't like me because I did the job for you and stuff like that. So he hates her guts. We find out that Beth is a thief. She has a tiny little criminal record where she stole something back in the day. The cop knows that after he did like a search on her and stuff. Now, Ace isn't there because he had an alibi. We find out about George. Her mom's an alcoholic. And so the cop reveals that. However, the biggest surprise and reveal is when it comes to Nick. Nick has a huge criminal record, but we don't know what that is yet. We won't find out to the end of this episode. Nancy is wide-eyed surprised that Nick has a criminal record and never told her. And he's all like, well, there's a lot of stuff about me you don't know because you don't ask. George is all like, oh, so it's a thing between y'all. So she realized what they've been doing and stuff. And so, yeah, Nancy is really upset that Nick never revealed that he has a criminal record. So that makes her very suspicious of him. So then, next thing you know, Nancy's dad shows up. And then he's a lawyer. And it's played by the dude from Scott. I forgot his last name. Something. From Party of Five. He's in this. He plays Nancy's dad. And she's upset that he's there. They don't really get along. And then she ends up storming out. And she's walking all the way back home in the middle of the night in an empty street. It amazes me how these TV shows, they see people at night. But you never see no cars driving around. And so she sees like this clothing store. They sell like prom dresses and stuff. And she sees a pink dress. And she walks up to like the window and she sides herself up to where the dress is, where you see her head in the dress reflection. And then all of a sudden a crown appears on her head. It's Lucy Sable's crown. And then she turns around. And then she turns back around again. And the crown is now gone. See, it's the nice, subtle, ghostly, ghouly stuff that happens in the first season that I like. All the wild, crazy ghost stuff like Scooby-Doo stuff, that's what I don't like. So, because Nancy is like a prime suspect and her friends are, she decides she's going to investigate this a little bit more so she can clear her name. And so she's looking at the footage of the parking lot of the restaurant where Tiffany was at. And then something interesting happens. Tiffany's kind of like panicking, freaking out a little bit. And in the background, you see that shadow, like ghostly figure again. And then the camera like cuts off. And so Nancy's just kind of like, okay, I don't believe in ghosts, but that was kind of freaky. But then she thinks it probably might be like a person dressed up. So she shows the footage to her employees and stuff, like George, Ace, and Beth. And Beth and Ace, they're all like, oh, we believe in ghosts, so that has to be a ghost. But George is like, nah. But then later on, Ace changes his mind and thinks that, okay, maybe it's not no ghost, Then George gets a little rude with Nancy, and we find out that they went to high school together and they used to be friends, but they no longer are because Nancy believed a bunch of sex rumors about George. But Nancy tells her straight up, like, look, I didn't spread none of those rumors, but she did believe them and stuff. So it's really interesting to know that those two have a history, but we won't find out until later on this season. So while they're all there, they're starting to wonder who could have killed Tiffany. Well, Nancy believes, it's Ryan because why? He's the husband. And then so Ace and them all like, oh yeah, it's always the husband. So Nancy really truly does believe that Ryan killed his own wife, but she don't know why. So it's time for the old Nancy Drew to come out. Late on that night, she's wearing her detective clothes. She got her beanie on her head, and she is literally spying on Ryan Hudson's house. She waits till he leaves and his garage door is open, and as it's closing, she runs up and then she like scoots up inside in there, and then so she starts like searching around his place, and she's just looking. Don't know what she's looking for, but she's just looking. And then for some bizarre reason, she looks inside a drawer, and then the drawer looks kind of funny. So she knocks on it a little bit. It's hollow. It's a hidden compartment, and in that hidden compartment is a note and a little pendant necklace. Now, while all this is going on, she trips an alarm because she knocks over a vase. And then so security shows up. But that's not the only person that shows up. Nick is out there spying on her. He followed her there. So he gets out his car and he runs inside the house. And I don't know how he got inside the house because she got in through the garage door. But I don't know how he got in. So anyway, oh wait, I think she was outside by that time. And that's how he caught with her. And so, yeah, when they're like hiding from security and stuff, she's surprised that he's there. And so he helps her like escape. And then when they get back in the car, she straight up asks him, hey, why are you following me and stuff? And he's all like, well, you're welcome because I just saved your life and helped you get away from this because security was showing up. And so he basically tells her that when she started acting weird about the whole Ryan being a suspect, he figured she might do something stupid, which, she did. So she kind of just lays it into him and is all like, how come you never told me you had a criminal record and blah, blah, blah. And then they discuss their feelings a bit. How he tells her like he really likes her, but she's kind of being like rude and it kind of like upsets him. And because she's just pissed that he didn't tell about the whole criminal record thing. And so she's not even grateful that he like rescued her and stuff. But then she makes some kind of comment about how she won't have to deal with this next year because she's going back to college. He thinks that's an insult because he can't get into college because he's just a mechanic, and they have a huge blow up. Well, the next day at work, she's trying to figure out what kind of pendant this is and everything. So she shows George because George somehow knows all about pendants and all that. And George lets her know that, it's some type of like C pendant and blah, 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 stuff like that. And that she kind of suspects that maybe there's a hidden compartment inside the necklace and they can figure it out. So her and Beth, they all, is that her name, Beth? God, I forgot her name. Okay, I might be calling the one girl by the wrong name because she dates a girl named Lizbeth. Okay, so it's not Beth, it's Bess, Bess. So I was thinking about her girlfriend, Lizbeth. Oh yeah, she's a lesbian, by the way. We gonna find that out till later on in the season. But hey, I did say you're gonna get spoiled, so Anyway, so they all go out to the beach and they dump it in some water, and then I think it clears up or it changes shape or something like that, or opens up. It does something, but it has a symbol on it now they can see. They couldn't see that symbol before, and the water cleared it up because it's kind of like one of those type of necklaces I guess you have to put in like in salt water, and it changes. So yeah, they do that and it changes, and Nancy recognized the symbol on it. It's the same symbol that was on Lucy Sable's crown. So they are all suspicious of that now. Also, George sees a address on there. Now, Nancy believes the necklace originally was Tiffany's, but now she knows it's Lucy's and stuff. And there's an address on there to a medium. So they head out to the medium, all three of them. And so now the medium, she actually played Nancy back in the older Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys show. They're there, they're doing a seance type thing, and then boom, table shakes, and the medium lady, she gets possessed. At first, they think it's Tiffany's ghost, but it's not. It's Lucy's. And Lucy is literally telling them, find the dress, find the dress. And the memes are like, okay, y'all need to get out now. And they're all like, why? Because she's like, this was not supposed to happen. That table was not supposed to shake. Basically, she's one of them fakes that set the table to shake, but she said this wasn't supposed to happen. She got possessed, and whoever this ghost was, person, is not friendly, and it's Lucy and stuff. Well, the next scene we see a detective cop, the cop that was there alongside the sheriff dude who was interrogating the well, we're gonna call them the Drew crew. That's what they're called. Um, and her name I think is Karen. And Karen is talking to Nancy's dad. And because see what happened was this. When Nancy and Nick was escaping from Ryan's place, Nancy hat got stuck on a branch. And the cop lady Karen found it and didn't want Nancy to get in trouble, so she gave it to her dad. Then they kiss. Nancy shows up, pissed off. Because her mom's only been dead for about like a year, and her dad's already shacking up with somebody else, a woman who's supposed to be friends with both her mom and her dad. So she can't take it, and she just straight up leaves. She heads to Nick's place because they are still haven't patched things up yet, and she tells him straight up that like all the crazy stuff that's been going on in her life recently, the only good thing she has to look forward to is him because she really cares about him, and of course that makes him happy. They make out some more. They do it, and they both tell each other, when they're ready to tell each other secrets, they will and stuff. But she knows, she finds out that oh, what was it? No, wait. He takes her home, and when he takes her home, she goes in the house, and her dad's all like, "What are you doing talking to him?" Nancy doesn't understand why her dad's so upset, but she finds out. Her dad was Nick's lawyer when he got in trouble all those years ago. And so she didn't know that. And so he's all like, look, I couldn't tell you about it because of the whole client confidentiality thing. So Nancy being Nancy, she is now super, super suspicious. She is so suspicious now that she decided she can't trust none of the people she works with, including Nick. So she gets her old little crime board thing back up, and she starts trying to put the pieces together who might have killed Tiffany. And so as she's doing that, she's narrating, and we get a nice little montage of everybody, and we find out why necessarily she can't trust them. Now, this is the part I like. I like this next part because this is what really made the show feel like a real detective show, a real crime drama, which is something you just don't see no more in the second season. We see Bess. She doesn't live with her rich aunt. She lives in like a 70s type van out in the woods. She is homeless broke. Oh, but that's not the only thing. See, Tiffany's ring on her finger went missing after she died, and the cops couldn't find it. It turns out Bess stole the ring, puts it on her finger, and looking at all the sparkly little diamonds with a big smile on her face. We see Nick. He's in his garage place where he works and lives at, and he's going under the seat of one of the cars, and he pulls out some strange old like brick thing that's been wrapped in paper. It's something like it's like a box. It's like the shape of a box, and it's wrapped in old paper, like it's really old. Don't know what's in it yet. Then we see George show up at Ryan's house, and he's all like, "What are you doing here?" And she's all like, "You don't have to act that way. I'm not in high school no more." And it's like, what? So something went on between him and her when she was in high school and he was still an adult. Now I've already talked about that in my other videos. But this is what's also crazy. This is a part I forgot about. Ace. Ace records and takes a picture of her standing next to Ryan at his place. I totally forgot all about that in the first season, that he was spying on George. And he sends the picture to the sheriff police officer dude. He's working for him. I completely forgot about that because Ace is such a boring character and he does absolutely nothing on the show. So as Nancy's writing down her clues and narrating herself, the lights go out and she's like, uh-oh, last time that happened, something bad, like ghostly happened. So she's walking around her house, right? She goes up into the attic. Well, actually, the reason why she went up in the attic, because the attic door just like popped open by itself. So she goes up there. For some reason, she decides to rip the wallpaper off the wall. Engraved on the wood is like the nursery rhyme of Lucy Sable. And so then she decides to go over to like her little toy chest thing that they have in the attic. And when she opens it up, it is Lucy Sable's bloody dress from when she committed suicide. In her attic, her dad had it, and she doesn't know why. So now her dad is umero suspect number one. And so that was the pilot of Nancy Drew season 1. I forgot like some of the things that happened in this, like a few things, but mostly, God, I forgot how good that first season was. Like it was a true crime detective show, a true drama, a true young detective type thing. You know, she's an adult. And it really, when you watched season 1 and season 2, you would totally see the differences between the two. Like the second season just pretty much got CW-fied and everything. And it's quite a shame because it was such a good show in the beginning. And the stuff that happens in season 2, especially the finale of season 2, the season finale, I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Basically, they introduced witches in the end of season 2. And I'm just like, what in the world? And one of the witches is related to Nancy. Oh, this is gonna be a ranting third season, I can just tell. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.